Hello and welcome to Film Physicality. In this video, I'll just be talking about the movies that I watched in October of 2022. Let's get to it. Okay, so October, spooky month, Halloween. So what did I watch? Of course, the first film that I watched is Willy's Wonderland. This is a movie from 2021 and is directed by Kevin Lewis. I haven't seen anything else from him, but this is a film starring Nicolas Cage, where he makes a deal to spend the night cleaning an abandoned family fun center in exchange for repairs of his broken down car. But inside, he soon finds himself fighting against possessed killer animatronics. So I went into this just expecting a silly film that I could just leave on the background while I was doing other stuff, but it's much more than that, and I really just couldn't look away. The movie is just too much fun. Nicolas Cage never even talks during the whole movie. He's silent all throughout. All he does is not take crap from anyone and just beat the hell out of animatronics. And that's just great. I also love how it's a comedy, but it kind of doesn't act like one. It like takes itself very seriously, but then everything that happens is just so funny, if that makes sense. I give this one a 3 out of 5. So the next film that I watched is Lights Out. This one's from 2016. This is a horror film that's directed by David F. Sandberg, who also did Shazam and Annabelle Creation. So I had seen this before. I rewatched it because I just remember I had seen it, but I didn't remember much of it. But on this one, a brother and sister are being terrorized by a supernatural entity that can only appear in the dark. And the entity has a weird attachment with the children's mother. So while the film does have some cheap jump scares, which I usually don't like, I still think overall the movie is pretty good and enjoyable. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. So another film that I watched this month is Creep. This is from 2014 and it's directed by Patrick Brice. I believe this was his directorial debut. On this one, Joseph offers Aaron $1,000 through an online ad just to film him throughout one day. He claims he is dying and the film project is for his son to remember him by. But he then starts acting very creepy and the situation just keeps escalating. So I thought the film was a lot of fun. It is a found footage film, but I do appreciate when there's a good excuse for the found footage film to be found footage. I did expect it to lead to a bit more though. I just found the ending to be kind of underwhelming in my opinion. I give this one a 3 out of 5. And so then I went ahead and watched Creep 2. This one's from 2017 and this one is also directed by Patrick Brice. Sarah does online videos of her comforting lonely men, but has not found success. When she meets Joseph after seeing his ad for video work, she believes she has found the perfect subject for her videos, and decides to take on the job of filming him throughout the day. So I can't really say much without spoiling the first one, but I honestly preferred this one a bit more than the first one. I just think it's a bit more fun throughout, and it just leads to a better climax in my opinion. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. The next film that I watched is Dark Water. This one's from 2022. It's a Japanese horror movie directed by Hideo Nakata. He directed Ringu and Ringu 2, which are the Japanese versions of The Ring. And I have this pretty nice Arrow video release. So on this one, after an unpleasant divorce, a mother and daughter move into an old apartment building, where they soon start seeing ghostly visions of a little girl. And so it's a pretty good ghost story. They really made a good job of making you feel all of her frustrations, but it does have some unbelievable situations. Without going into spoilers, I especially don't understand why at the end the decision that she made was like the only option that she had. I feel like there were other ways around that, but again, I don't want to get into spoilers. I give this one a 3 out of 5. Another film that I watched is You Are Not My Mother. This is from 2021. It's a horror movie directed by Kate Dolan, which I think this was her directorial debut, at least for feature film. On this one, Char's mother goes missing, and when she finally returns, she starts acting strangely. Now Char is determined to find out what happened during her disappearance. It is a pretty good modern folktale with a good story and like a great atmosphere, while also being a creature feature with some nice special effects. I also love its take on real life dramas, especially on the bullying aspect. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. So the next film that I watched is Relic. This is from 2020 and it's a horror film directed by Natalie Erica James, and I believe this is her feature film directorial debut. This is my second time watching this, and I gave it a second watch just because I didn't remember much of it from the first time. I just remembered not liking it too much. So I decided to give it a second watch, just thinking maybe I wasn't in the mood the first time. So on this one, when Edna goes missing, her daughter and granddaughter return home to find her, and then they discover a haunting presence hanging over the home, which might be taking over Edna's mind. So watching it a second time, I think I appreciated it more on the second watch, especially because of all the symbolism. But overall, I still kind of found it pretty boring with not a very good payoff at the end. I give this one a 2.5 out of 5. The next film that I watched is Evil Dead. This one's from 2013. It's a horror film directed by Fede Alvarez. He also directed Don't Breathe, and this is a remake from Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, the one from 1981. On this one, a group of friends rent a remote cabin to help one of them who is struggling with sobriety. There they find a book of the dead with which they unintentionally summon demons. And so I love this movie so much. It's just so much fun from beginning to end. The kills are just amazing and very shocking, with a lot of practical effects and very little CGI. This might be a hot take, but I definitely prefer this one over the original. I give this one a 4.5 out of 5. Another movie that I watched this month is Tin Can. This is from 2020, and it's a science fiction horror film directed by Seth A. Smith, who also directed Lowlife. On this one, the world is facing a deadly plague, and the scientist who believes has found the cure is imprisoned in a metal chamber. She now needs to escape in the hope of trying to save humanity. The movie is a body horror film, and it does have some very disturbing scenes, like that coral fungus is just so nasty, but it mostly just felt like it was all about the body horror, but then it just felt boring on all the other parts. And I'm not that much of a fan of body horror, so it was really not for me. I give this one a 2 out of 5. So the next film that I watched is Possessor. This is from 2020, and it's a horror movie directed by Brandon Cronenberg, which is the son of David Cronenberg. He also directed Antiviral, which I haven't seen, and he also has one coming out called Infinity Pool, starring Mia Goth, which I'm excited to see. On this one, Voss works as an assassin who uses an implant to take control of other people's bodies to murder her targets, leaving no trace of her on the scene. But on her latest assignment, she becomes trapped inside the body of the person that she takes control of. So I had watched this one before, but for some reason I didn't remember much of it. I only remembered that I liked it. So I went ahead and rewatched it, and yeah, I loved it all over again. It is a bit predictable, but the plot is just very original and just executed very well. And it's overall just a pretty fun watch. I give this one a 4 out of 5. Another film that I watched this month is Friday the 13th. This is from 1980, and it's a horror slasher directed by Sean S. Cunningham, which he's directed a lot of movies in the 80s, but I haven't really seen any of them. I have this nice looking slipcover of it. Trying to reopen a summer campsite near a lake where a child once drowned, camp counselors start getting murdered by an unknown killer. So it was my first time watching this. I mean, I vaguely remember watching parts of the Friday the 13th movies when I was a kid, but I never fully watched one, at least I don't think. So of course I was expecting just Jason to be the killer, but that's not the case at all. I won't spoil who it is in case someone hasn't seen it. I did find it to be pretty fun, especially for its time. It was also pretty fun seeing a young Kevin Bacon acting on this. I give this one a 3 out of 5. The next one that I watched this month is Last Night in Soho. This one's from 2021. It's a thriller, mystery, horror that it's directed by Edward Wright. He also directed Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim Against the World, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and some others as well. So on this one, Eloise, who is an aspiring fashion designer, is mysteriously able to go back to the 1960s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something far darker. So I know this movie might have a few flaws, and some people didn't like it, but to me it's just perfect. It has a great story and it's very original, and even though most of it is like a drama mystery, it still has some ghost elements, which is just like the cherry on top for me. All the scenes from the 50s are just so mesmerizing, and the acting from Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie are just super good as well. I give this one a 5 out of 5. Another film that I watched is Day Shift. This is from 2022 and it's a Netflix original directed by J.J. Perry, which is his directorial debut. It stars Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, Carla Souza, which is from How to Get Away with Murder, even Snoop Dogg and Steve Howey, who's from Shameless. On this one, a hard-working dad out to provide for his daughter uses a boring pool cleaning job as a front for his real gig, hunting and killing vampires. So this one does have pretty good action sequences, but the vampires just performing flips and slow motion fighting, just, I don't know, just not really do it for me. The comedy is not really funny and just super cringy, and it's super predictable as well. It also has some pretty stupid stuff in my opinion. Anyways, I give this one a 0.5 out of 5. Another film that I watched this month is House. This is from 1977. It is directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi, which I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. I haven't seen any other films from the director, but this is a Japanese horror comedy about a girl who visits her aunt, who she hasn't seen in a long time, and invites along her 6 friends as well. Weird and haunting stuff then start happening at the house. And so the girls are named after their main trait, which I thought was very funny. Their names are Gorgeous, Fantasy, Sweet, Mac, Prof, Melody, and Kung Fu. So like Gorgeous is the pretty one that's always like using makeup. And then of course Sweet is the sweet one. Mac is the one that eats a lot. And like Kung Fu is the one that like knows how to fight and so forth. So this was such a fun ride, but at the same time it was like, what the heck is this? But it did just keep me thinking about the movie days and days after I watched it. The animated background kind of throws you off in the beginning a little bit, but then you just get used to it, and then it's sometimes funny and sometimes it's very creepy. The climax is kind of like way too out there, though the whole movie is, but the climax maybe just too much. I give this film a 3.5 out of 5. Another film that I watched is The Curse of Bridge Hollow. This is from 2022, and it's a Netflix original directed by Jave Wadlaw. He also directed Kick-Ass 2, Truth or Dare, and Fantasy Island. This is a horror comedy starring Pariah Ferguson, which is from Stranger Things, and Marlon Wayans, who's the guy from White Chicks, and he's also Shorty from Scary Movie. On this one, a family moves from Brooklyn into this town, which is supposedly the most peaceful town. But it's Halloween time, and on this Halloween, the main character stumbles upon something that makes decorations come to life. So the movie does have some fun scenes, but it's mostly just stupid, cheesy jokes that were not funny, at least in my opinion. Like, it had me face palming most of the movie. And it also doesn't have very good acting, but like I said, it is pretty fun at times. I give this one a 2 out of 5. So another film that I watched is So Above, So Below. This is from 2014, and it's directed by Don Eric Dowdo. Pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. He also directed Devil and Quarantine. It is a found footage horror in which a group looking for Nicholas Flamel's Philosopher's Stone go into an undiscovered area on the French catacombs. And yeah, this is the same Philosopher's Stone that Harry Potter looks for on the first movie. But anyways, I did really like this movie. It feels very similar to The Descent, but also different. It has pretty good pacing. It's very engaging. It also has some great scenes that do a very good job at making the viewer feel the tension of the situations. I give this one a 4 out of 5. Another film that I watched this month is Apostle. This is from 2018, and it's a Netflix original directed by Gareth Evans, who directed The Raid 1 and The Raid 2, which are very different from this film since this is a folk cult horror. On this one, a father is dying, and a letter arrives from a cult saying that they have taken his daughter for ransom. The son then joins the cult to find out about his sister. And so it's pretty funny how going into the movie, I knew it was a horror, and it does have a lot of horror elements, but then there's a few fights that break out that are like very good. Like the action sequences and the whole fighting choreography is just like very good, and it feels like a martial arts or fighting movie. And I was like, this is weird. And then I looked up who directed it, and I saw that it's the director of The Raid and The Raid 2. So I guess that explains it. But anyways, it does have an intriguing premise, and it has a lot of beautiful shots. And then it also has some pretty shocking moments, though it kind of drags a bit at times. And then some plot situations aren't very realistic or very believable. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. The next film that I watched is Grimcutty. This is from 2022, and it's a Hulu original directed by John Ross, who hasn't done much else, I don't think. This is a horror movie that is loosely based on the Momo Internet Challenge. And so children start cutting themselves whenever they see a video or link of Grimcutty, but no one seems to know of a link in existence to the media that is causing it. Parents are then freaking out and taking away electronics while the kids are trying to figure out what's happening. So this has a very good premise, but not a very good execution in my opinion. I think the movie could have been so much better. Also, the design of Grimcutty is very different from the design of Momo, and I think Momo's is just a lot more creepy. This one looks more monster-like, I guess. I don't know if there was any reasoning behind this. The acting is also not very good, and then the characters just seem to figure out what's happening without really much to go on. And then it felt like the ending didn't really solve the main problem of the plot. I give this one a 1.5 out of 5. So the next film that I watched is I Am the Pretty Little Thing That Lives in the House. This is from 2016, and it's a Netflix original directed by Oz Perkins, who also directed The Black Coat's Daughter and Gretel and Hansel as well, which are both very good films. On this one, a nurse takes care of an elder author at a haunted house, and the story is narrated by the ghost that lives in the house. The movie has some beautiful shots and some pretty nice effects, and at first it is very original and intriguing, but then I think it just gets too slow. I think this is definitely Oz Perkins' weakest film out of the 3 that he has directed. I give this one a 2.5 out of 5. Another film that I watched this month is Watcher. Anyways, this is from 2022, and it's directed by Chloe Okuno. I don't think she's directed much else. This is a psychological thriller where a woman starts getting stalked by a person shortly after moving to Romania with her husband. She then starts to become paranoid as she tries to get everyone else to believe her. There's not much to say about the movie. It is a simple and straightforward story, but it does do a great job of just keeping you intrigued and have you always second guessing the main character. I give this one a 3 out of 5. Another film that I watched is The Invitation. This is from 2022. It is a film directed by Jessica Thompson, who also directed The Light of the Moon. So this is a gothic horror about a girl who gets invited into the mansion of her long-lost relatives for a family wedding. She's then seduced by the host of the mansion and later uncovers twisted secrets about the family. So the film was very promising at first. The plot was set up pretty well, and it does a good job of grabbing your attention. Though then when you get to the third act, they just throw in a bunch of craziness that just made very little sense, and it basically just threw everything down the drain. It's kind of like they tried to make the ending similar to Ready or Not, but they didn't execute that very well. They should have probably just kept the same tone throughout the whole film, and it might have been better. I don't know, I give this one a 2 out of 5. The next film that I watched this month is Deep Red. This is from 1975, and I have this nice arrow release from it. It is directed by Dario Argento, who also directed Suspiria. It is, of course, a giallo film about a musician who witnesses a murder and notices something at the crime scene that then isn't there when he is interrogated. And so, intrigued by this, he teams up with a reporter to find the killer. The film does have creepy moments, especially the use of dolls throughout the whole film, which is very effective in my opinion, and I wish it had been used more. It does a great job of keeping the mystery of who the killer is, which of course is one of the things that defines a giallo film. It does have some bad edits, but I think Argento is known to not edit too much. It also sometimes feels slow, and the music score, which I know a lot of people love. I don't know, to me it just kind of felt out of place. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Another film that I watched is No Escape Room. This is from 2018 and it's a Netflix original directed by Alex Merkin, which I haven't seen any of his other films. On this one, a father and daughter decide to go to an escape room, which then basically ends up just being like a generic haunted house. So the film doesn't really have very good acting. It is very badly edited, like the transitions are very weird. It kind of feels like maybe it was a TV movie and the cuts to commercials weren't edited very well. I don't know, at least that's how it feels to me. The plot doesn't really make much sense to me. And then it has plot twists, but the plot twists kind of just happen because the character like suddenly by himself just realizes something. And then it also tries to be clever with playing with time loops, but then it just ends up with a lot of plot holes. I give this one a 0.5 out of 5. Another film that I watched is Freaky. This is from 2020 and it's a slasher horror comedy that is directed by Christopher Landon, who also directed Happy Death Day. And it's basically like Freaky Friday but horror. So this one stars Vince Vaughn as a serial killer who accidentally switches bodies with a teenage girl, played by Catherine Newton. Now she must find a way to switch back. So I think Vince Vaughn does a great job at playing the girl. I think the performance is just very believable. And then even though all Catherine Newton does is just kind of have a psycho look when she's playing the killer, I still think it worked very well and I think her performance was great as well. It's just overall a super fun movie with a lot of nice gore and sometimes that's just all you need. I give this one a 4 out of 5. Another film that I watched is The Trip. This is from 2021 and it's directed by Tommy Wirkola, which I'm probably saying wrong. He also directed the new movie that recently came out called Violent Night. On this one, a couple retreat to a lakeside cabin in search of reconnecting, but the husband plans to murder his wife on the cabin, instead of just asking her for a divorce, I guess. When he tries to do it though, some crazy plot twists start to occur. Other characters keep getting introduced and then it just gets crazier and crazier every time, which just makes for very entertaining, gory fun. A lot of it is not very believable, especially how some characters react to some situations, but it is a comedy, so maybe that can be forgiven. Anyways, I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Another movie that I watched this month is The Ritual. This is from 2017, and it is a Netflix original directed by David Bruckner, who also directed The Night House, which is a very good movie. This is a folk horror similar to the Blair Witch Project, but without the found footage. And it is about a group of friends who go on a hiking trip, but a supernatural presence terrorizes them, making them relive their worst memories and doubt reality. I like how it's just people stumbling into something unknown, messing with their minds, and then creating more tension between them. It has a lot of beautiful shots and some very nice scenery, but also some very creepy scenes as well. The ending is not so great, but the movie as a whole I really enjoyed. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. And so that's it for the films that I watched in Spooky Month. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.